Aero India is designed in such a way that it showcases India's talents and strengths. And to harness that, the government puts in place not only policies but also handholds several startup companies to create an ecosystem. These startups work with the established PSUs, and as a result, the defense space looks bright for the future. So we are at Startup Manthan, and we are privileged to have with us the Chief Operating Officer of IDEX DIO, Mr. Vivek Veermani. This is the organization that works with the startups and sets them up in a way. So we have the IDEX Startup Challenge, and then you select people, and then what happens?
Yeah, first I would like to say that the whole idea of IDEX DIO is to help our smaller companies, the MSMEs and the startups, who generally avoid coming to defense because of two major reasons. One is that the turnaround time in defense is extremely long. It takes 8 to 10 years for a product to materialize and for actual returns to start coming in. And the second point is that there's a barrier communicating with the defense services, defense forces. So because of these two issues, we don't get startups and our brighter minds of the younger generation to come and help out. So IDEX is trying to play as a bridge, facilitating the startups on one end, and on the other end we have the armed forces. Coming to your question, we have the armed forces with us throughout this process, right from giving the problem statement for the solutions, then in the evaluation process, and then during the prototype process. Okay. So we have the armed forces throughout this. Once the prototype is made, we have now introduced the IDEX concept in the defense acquisition procedure, which is the Bible for procurement in India. So any product that is developed by a startup or an MSME through IDEX, it will not have to go through the regular tendering process. The tendering will be limited to those successful developers only. This is what is incentivizing these startups to come with us and develop these prototypes.
So great, so you've given them that incentive, but once they are in, then you have to, this ecosystem has to continue to be self-sustaining in a sense. Yes. So how does it continue to be self-sustaining?
See, first of all, the funding is required. So for the development of the prototype itself, we are giving them 1.5 crores with a matching contribution from their side. Then the idea is to get the product done within, let's say, a year or up to 2 years, so that the startup can sustain for that period of time, and in the same period we provide them sufficient exposure and connections for testing, which itself with the armed services is a challenge. To go through the grinding testing procedure is a challenge in itself. So there also we are helping them out. So let's say in a period of about 2 years, if we are able to develop the prototype, then it is ready for procurement. So the procurement process will take about, let's say, 6 months to 8 months. So within a period of 3 years, we can expect the startup to get an order, which presently is like 8, 10, maybe 12 years, and sometimes they are also scrapped after 12 years.
Okay, fair enough, yes. Because
that kind of uncertainty has to be removed from the procedure to give them any fair chance of surviving in this environment.
Because there's only one buyer, but when will are they going to be in a position to sell, to to export, to look at outside?
Yes. See, we have the provision of 100% IP resting with the startup.
So 100% IP is with them?
Yes, the IP is with them. And we encourage them to go to the civil market in India and for exports also. In case there are
this is a shared technology, you're sharing it with the common, with the rest of industry as well?
Yes.
So how does it unique to in defense then?
The uniqueness is that the first the first challenge is to complete the prototype for the defense. Then they can relax or customize their standards according to the civil market, and accordingly the cost will also come down, so they can go to the civil markets. In case there are more than one product which we get for one challenge, then we have the provision of giving them a certificate of complete testing and clearance, so that if they go for exports, they don't face any hindrances. Otherwise, nobody in the foreign market will be ready to buy such a product without certification from the...
Are they free to collaborate with, because after all, the best products come about by working the best technologies together.
Yes.
So are they free to collaborate and look for collaborations abroad?
Yes. Great. That is how they'll start.
And to what extent does this hand-holding go? I mean, when does it end? When
From
are
our
they on
side?
their own? Yeah, when are they on their own?
Well, the hand-holding is up till the prototype is cleared. Okay. Then they enter into the acquisition procedure. So from there, they are on their own. But we have already made the provision in the acquisition procedure, as I told you, that the orders, the tendering will go only to the successful prototype developers. So that is how we have ensured that they are hand-holded up till the stage they get an order from the defense.
We are at the Startup Manthan on the sidelines of Aero India 21, and we are very privileged to have with us Mr. Mohan Kumar Jindal, who is the founder of Chip Spirit, the winner of the IDEX Disc 1 with its hardware VLSI design circuits. What exactly is VLSI?
Oh, thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming here. It's really a privilege to be on Doordarshan with you and with your team.
Great.
So VLSI stands for Very Large Scale Integration. So these are the integrated circuits which go into your mobile phones, your mics that you put in here, your laptops, cameras, everywhere.
Okay.
So I was with Intel. You miniaturize it to an extent of 10 nanometer.
All right.
10
great.
nanometer is the latest technology. I mean, 2 nanometer, 3 nanometer.
So I can understand this is very useful technology for the defense forces.
Of course,
and
of course.
How is it being utilized?
It is being utilized over here that we are working on a hardware-based solution, which will be like this plain text from one USB can be sent to the other USB as a cipher text, okay, and then it can also be sent on the Ethernet. So on your network also, on your network where you have a modem and all, there your plain text will be converted into a cipher text and sent to the other side, whereby I'll show you. So this is the network use case where the Ethernet will be there, the port that you use. With the Ethernet plain text, it will convert into cipher text, send on the public network.
Sure.
Okay, where snoopers can actually snoop in the data. The main idea here is everything is hardware. So you may ask me, right, what is uniqueness in your design?
Right.
This is the first time in the world.
Okay.
Let me tell you, in the world that this thing is being interpreted only in hardware. So all the FAT32 drivers FAT32, the driver that you play.
Yes.
So there is no operating system, no Windows, no Linux, no Android, no OS required.
Okay.
So you just plug in the plain text USB. It will convert into cipher text, and this is very useful for Navy.
Okay, why is that so? Why is it useful for Navy?
What they do is from one ship to other ship, offline transactions they put in the cipher text, then they send to other ship. Over there, they plug into our system, and they will get the plain text with the same pre-shared key. And the person doesn't need to know any of the OS system. And there is no backdoors. So there can be a backdoor channel with which actually you can actually snoop in the data. But here, backdoors are zero backdoors. So it is very secure, highly secure system.
So what's the future then like for startups in the defense space?
Defense space startups, we need to work with defense, we need to understand them, they need to understand us. So I think this with IDEX specifically, I will say IDEX Startup Manthan, our Raksha Mantri and a lot of their team, and it's not only one person doing the job.
Indeed.
The whole team works on it, and what they are doing right now is they are understanding us, understanding our needs, we are understanding their needs.
Broadband and long-range communications are extremely essential for the armed forces, and we are very privileged to have with us Ramu T.S. of Leica, the founder of Leica Wireless, and this is a company that has unique solutions in this particular field. So tell us a little bit about your company.
So we are a Bangalore-based company with extreme expertise in developing 4G technology. So here we are with our product, which can actually set up a private LTE network, which can actually provide a long-range communication and a broadband, just like how we enjoy browsing the internet, the civilians. So a similar kind of connectivity is required when our soldiers are in the operations. So with our equipment, actually the Indian Navy can actually set up a wireless LAN, local area network, over the seas, where actually the people who moored the mothership can still get connected to the mothership through voice, video, and data calls.
And how is that done? I mean, how is it possible? How are you communicating?
So it's a good question. So we have actually the equipment which is installed on the mothership, and the soldiers or our naval officers can utilize a smartphone, and they can use a SIM card which is provided by the Navy, and thereby they will be able to connect to our network.
So it's just a SIM card that is making them in a position to connect with each other.
Yes.
And they can be at
miles
and miles apart.
Yes.
How long is the range?
I think we on the ground we have tested about 6 to 8 kilometers, but we are expected to cover even longer range when we go to the seas, because on the ground you'll have trees and buildings. So we expect it to be somewhere around 12 to 18 kilometers, but we are yet to hit the trials on the sea. But today we have completed our trials on the ground.
How do you go about working with the armed forces?
So DIO has provided us a platform for directly working with the user community. So today Indian Navy is our user for our technology. So we have a scheduled trials on the sea in sometime soon. And with this we should be able to get further orders from Indian Navy, and we should be able to take it to other services like Air Force and Army as well.
So we are at the Startup Manthan, and we have with us one of the winners of the IDEX Startup Challenge, Nyox Technologies. Ajay Sangwan is the director. Tell us a little bit about all these unique products. You're in the textile field, it looks like, but what's so special about this, and why is it important for the defense services?
So we are the company who gives consciousness to the clothing. With the help of the nanotechnology, we have enhanced this fabric into a process which gives the antiviral and antibacterial finishes. It is tested for SARS-CoV-2 as well at the Doherty Institute, Australia. The another feature is Thermo Regulation. So when we go for a run, our body temperature increases. So our body adapts to it by sweating. But due to the layer of the clothing, the sweat and the heat goes out to the environment. So through our clothing, the heat is released into the environment by evaporation. The third is this doesn't smell for 7 days, 8 days, or even 2 weeks also.
How is that possible? I mean,
because if all the bacteria and viruses and fungal things are killed, then there is no chance of smell. As well, the fiber smell will also be gone. So no kind of things. So we have for the defense, because the defense people go for the mission with the very less resources. So in order to keep their kit light, we are offering uniforms which doesn't need to be maintained like it has to be now. We have inner wears which can be worn on the ship because we have less water there. Or if they are going for a mission 7 days, then they don't need to bother of these kind of things.
My concern is about temperature control. What about in the cold climates?
So we are working on a technology for the high altitude clothing, which will reduce the half of the weight which they are currently using it. So in 3 months we will be having those apparels also.
Okay, and that's also going to use nanotechnology.
It is kind of a mix of all the worlds: textile, metal, fabrication processes, nanotechnology as well.
At the Aero India show, we continue to come across technologies that are futuristic and are going to influence the defense sector in a big way. And here's Vignesh Ranganathan, who's going to tell us about Big Bang Solutions and your product. What's your product?
So our product is anti-drone defense system. So one of the finest solution which we are going to deploy in India. So basically the solution, how it works is we could able to sense all kind of drones, commercially off-the-shelf drones, in the range of 5 kilometers radius, and we could able to detect and jam the drones in the radius of 1 kilometer.
So it's an anti-drone.
It's an anti-drone system, which means we will jam all the drones which are coming entering into our
So what happens when you jam the drones? The drones will crash?
Yeah, their controls will vanish. So how the drones, how it's been designed basically, like if we jam the frequency, whether the drone will take over the control, whether it wants to land on that particular place or it can either reach to return to home option. So it will either go back to its home location or it will fall down in that same place.
So
That
how
is
do you
how
do
we
this?
jam.
Is this
Yeah.
done with where do you place your jammers?
So how this exactly works is like this solution is being put up in LOC, a line of control. So when we deploy this solution there, whenever commercially any drones which we are entering into a territory, so our system, passive RF sensor system, which will listen to the drones which are entering into our territory, and it will detect and give the signal or give the notifications to the operator who is sitting and operating at LOC. So he could have all the information which is being entering into the territory. So at that particular instant, he will have an option of having jammer switched on. So if he switch on, when the drone enters into a territory of within a 1 kilometer radius, he can switch on the jammer, and jammer obviously it can jam the drone. Either the drone can go back to its own territory or it can fall on the same place.
Fair enough. So,
So
what is the
that is
area in which you can put your jammer?
Yeah, so this
what is the range
yeah,
with which
the
it can
range.
work?
So range is it can be the sensor range, we could able to detect the drone at the range of 5 kilometer radius over a semi-spherical range, which means all over the location whenever it's been centered around it, and it can able to jam. It's omnidirectional, which means it can jam anywhere within the radius of 1 kilometer. That is how it's been. The solution has been designed.
Aero India is a runway to 1 billion opportunities for people, for companies, all involved in the defense aviation space. And we are outside the HAL stall. HAL, as you know, has signed up a contract for 48,000 crore rupees for the LCA Mark 1A. And it's also looking at futuristic technologies in UAVs. We know that the future frontier of air defense is with UAVs. And we are here with Group Captain Thakur and Mr. Thangavel and you, sir.
Ahmed Rabi.
Mr. Ahmed Rabi, yeah. And all of them are involved with the CATS program, which is this built-to-size UAV. Tell us a little bit about this product, sir.
All right. So we started the spade work behind the CATS project, which is Combat Air Teaming System, quite some time back, about 2.5 years back. These are the men behind the machines that you see behind me. The project is a system of systems which is designed with many assets in mind. So right on top, what you see here is the indigenous Tejas aircraft upgraded multiple times by us for undertaking mothership operations. So that is the kind of airborne data center from where the situation will be monitored and commands will be given to the unmanned assets so that the combat can be executed. The teaming is embedded inside this and powered by artificial intelligence. Autonomy is a big major driver for doing teaming, and teaming is the way to do combat everywhere. These machines are specifically designed for combat. All right, so taking you one by one through the assets, and my developers will tell you a little more deeply a little later. The bird which you see on top is a manned aircraft. A Tejas, an Air Force pilot will be flying that, or a naval pilot will be flying that. Behind him will be sitting the weapon systems operator, who will have a large area display, who will monitor the situation and give commands to the unmanned systems. As we walk a little, you will be able to see the unmanned asset. The biggest unmanned asset is here, something called the CATS Warrior, which is actually a UCAV, it's a stealth bird, which is designed to fly in formations of 2s or 4s or even more. And along with the mothership, it forms a team called manned-unmanned team. This is a new concept which has started elsewhere in the world, but we are ahead of the curve. We are one of the first few countries in the world which has started this concept, and the development is full bore at present. Scale birds are going to start flying very, very soon. Now, this is the Warrior, which executes the major component of air combat in team with the manned bird, where the pilot in the cockpit remains a little safe from the extreme risky missions. The other assets which are part of this CATS program is the CATS Hunter, which you see on top, which is a clone of the Warrior, but fitted on the wing of the aircraft. So it flies along with the aircraft, and once it is launched from the aircraft, that is where his mission starts. Therefore, he gets a lot of range advantage. It does a mission which is similar to the CATS Warrior, however, does not do any air-to-air combat. It executes air-to-ground combat and does soft penetration into the target defenses and carries out EW jamming, ISR role and bomb damage assessment roles quite effectively. Thereafter comes back to base and lands. It lands using a parachute, a two-stage parachute, where a parachute opens with a high rate of descent. It comes down towards the ground. Just before impact, another parachute opens with a slow rate of descent. It kisses the ground. You clean the asset, fit it on the aircraft, and you are ready to fly once again. That's the CATS Hunter. So we have the mothership, the Warrior, the Hunter, and one of the other major assets is a swarm attack drone, which has a carrier which is fitted on the aircraft. The carrier is dispensed at the launch point from the aircraft. It glides a long distance. At the end of the glide, which could be as much as 100 kilometers, at the end of the glide, before impacting the ground, it dispenses drones. Drones come out from that, they look like this. This is one of the drones, and you see another drone on the right side of the CATS Warrior. The drones come out, these are called air launch flexible assets. They come into a swarm formation. Thereafter, they execute the swarm attack. About 20 of them come out from one aircraft and about 80 of them from a four-ship formation of LCS. They come into swarm formation, they execute the attack very far from the border, very deep inside enemy territory.
So these are already on the LCA Mark 1A, which is already...
They are not, these projects have been unveiled day before yesterday.
Okay.
And these projects are in the works. However, the development is at an advanced stage. This kind of an asset is ready to fly, and you will see it flying in a matter of months, not years. And it will be getting inducted also within extremely short time. There is not much work left to do. All we need to do is prove it and start inducting it. Okay, this is the third asset, CATS Alpha. So we've got under this umbrella project the CATS Mothership, Warrior, Hunter, and Alpha. There are some other projects which we have not unveiled here, which are part of this umbrella. Typically, there is a very high altitude ISR asset called high altitude pseudo satellite, which in HAL's words is CATS Infinity. It gives you infinite time on station with just two birds, and it gives you the entire TBA, that is a tactical battle area, will be under surveillance infinitely with Army, Navy and Air Force. So that's the whole load of CATS asset which is visible to you. Over to my designers to explain the details to you.
And how did you come about making this design? Where do you get the requirements from?
Yeah, this idea basically came from some of the recent scenarios faced by our services with respect to operating in the hostile territory, where it's very dangerous to pilots to send the manned aircraft. So this kind of CAT system gives the capability to send the unmanned assets ahead, and manned aircraft can give support from within our own border. So it gives some kind of protection. And we wanted to develop with the latest technology like stealth feature, concealed weapon, and our own engine. So it's more kind of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So most of the items what is going into this UAV are indigenous.
Indeed. And where will it be controlled from? It will be controlled from the flight, or but it has to take off and land somewhere,
If you see the CATS Warrior, it can take off and land on a runway like any other normal aircraft. During takeoff and landing, it can be controlled from ground control station. Later, control will be transferred to the mothership aircraft. Their pilot in large area display, he can see and give the command. It has its own autopilot. It has capability to fly autonomously and do the complete mission. However, the pilot can change the mission, and he can give the whatever the command it has to give, like go and attack that particular point, like that. Particular commands can be given from the mothership.
And how long can it fly? I mean, without it requires fuel, right?
It can fly for about 2 hours. It can fly, so it can do the attack mission at the radius of operation of about 350 kilometers.
It's a new technology still. If you see the foreigners still, they are still exploring. So it's the right time we are in India, we are bringing these concepts. Okay, so because the stealth itself is a new technology. So right now we are designing the stealth, which was if you compare it with the which we used to call as the 5th generation. So that we are doing,
Indeed, but you see, DRDO has been designing mostly for NCA and all that, right?
No,
yeah.
DRDO designing, that is the AMCA, which was the stealthy aircraft, which is a manned aircraft. Whatever we are seeing is a unmanned UCAV.
This is not any work with DRDO at all. This is entirely by HAL.
Yes, CATS Warrior is entirely by HAL.
The entire concepts and
Yes.
everything.
It's completely nose to tip. We are
So you are standing alone as far as your research and
No, we are not
development.
alone actually. We are joining with all the major entities in India. Like we may go to NAL and DRDO for optimizing the stealth because they have facilities already. Some experience is there. It will be a combined national product. So we are in fact including a lot of startup companies, like this Alpha is coming from startup company. Like that we are exploring all the options.
So we are bringing the concept, and already we can't start from the scratch, the design, all the things. So wherever the technology level was matured, we are taking and we are just updating.
And in the aviation community, a lot of information sharing is there. So we are aware what each one is doing. So we have certain strength definitely. HAL has a very good advantage in terms of large platforms. And unmanned also, last more than 8 years we are working. So this concept itself, last 2 years we are working. So we completely understand our strength.
Mass production, how much can we produce of this? I mean, what do we have to scale up?
Scaling up is not a problem nowadays. So we have capacity and we have industry ecosystem to support whatever number we want. So it's question of quickly coming to the production level and getting orders. Production not an issue for us.
Okay, thanks very much, Mr. Thangavel. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.